Welcome back to the Attorneys on Accident podcast with your host, Joe Worth, and the lovely Ash Blackburn. We are here with Dr. Mark Truman. He's an orthodontist here in Las Vegas. Thank you for coming on the show.
Glad to be here.
So, are you even a real doctor? Let's just start. I know our listeners are going to want to know.
It's fine.
Well, because let's be honest. I've been to your office. You've got 3 offices here in Las Vegas, incredibly successful, Truman Orthodontics. But you go in there and it's like, I'm in a Dave & Buster's, I'm in a spa, everybody's smiling, everybody's happy, they've got perfect teeth or they're on their way to perfect teeth. Are you really a doctor? Because it kind of seems too good to be true. There's no blood, there's no gut.
Yeah. Well, I think I know where you're going with this. I've told you the story.
I love this story. We won't even try to hide the fact that we set that up.
Yeah. No, yeah, so I was on I think a continuing education or something with my brother, Zach, who's also an orthodontist, and we work together. So he's part of Truman Orthodontics.
You recently merged.
Yeah. So we've kind of been operating separately across different sides of the city. And now we've decided it's going to be better for our patients, for, just the continuity of everything, that we can go to different locations. And so now that's happening. But we were on in Boston, I think. And
that's important.
Yeah,
well, the fact that it's in Boston.
Yeah, we're in Boston, and
okay,
we were looking for something to do, and we went up to the concierge desk, and we're asking them, what are some things in Boston that are popular? And we had noticed as we were walking around, it was busy. It wasn't just the orthodontist; there was a big medical convention going on too.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't know what nationality the guy behind the desk was at the concierge, but he said, "Doctor." And I was like, well, I know there's a lot of real doctors here. I'm a orthodontist, but I guess I'm kind of a doctor. And he's like, then he just points at this like brochure for a duck tour, which is it's like a military vessel that can go from land to water.
Yeah, duck tour.
He's like, no, bro, it's duck tours. So,
I know you're a dentist. I know you're not a real doctor.
You're not a real doctor. So
the doctors are over there.
So now I told that story to Joe. He thought it was funny.
I still think it's funny.
Now I was like, yeah, you're not really a doctor. So yeah.
Well, it was that, or there's the old In Living Color. There's the sketch comedy from the '90s where Jim Carrey, Jamie Foxx get their start. And I had to show Mark this one where, they sit down in this diner and the whole sketch is worst diner ever. So the lady comes to take the order and she's like, you guys are looking nice and fancy. They're wearing suits. And she's like, what do you do? And Jim Carrey looks up. He's like, well, actually, we're orthodontists. And she's like, oh, baby, that's nothing to be ashamed of. She's like, I'm Baptist. That's great.
Yeah, right.
But nothing to be ashamed of. Your success is nothing to be ashamed of. So I want to start off by asking you, you have a different kind of leadership in the sense that you don't seek the spotlight. You're kind of content to just lead from behind. And so Ash and I have the challenge today of pulling out the secret sauce that's made you so successful, which you have. I know you don't like to hear that out loud. But I want to know, what quiet standard do you hold yourself to that most people wouldn't be aware of it, but if you violated that standard, you would not be acceptable to you?
Well, I mean, so being an orthodontist is like its own thing, right? Like, and you guys do the same thing. You're attorneys, right? So you're attorneys, but here you are now. You're podcasting, right? And you're running a business, and you have employees, and so you're doing all kinds of different roles. So I think that's kind of the hard part about being in a business, especially if you're a professional, because you have to do the job, but then you have to do the other job. And so
jobs, the other many jobs,
all the other like marketing and sales and everything. And so a single standard. I have somewhat of it drives my wife crazy because I have sort of a very detail oriented personality, and I get like, doing the dishes at home. I'm like, you can't put that in the dishwasher like that. It has to be
playing Tetris.
Yeah. It's like you're just doing it wrong,
Nest the bowls.
And right. And it sometimes takes me a little bit longer than, and she says, just do it, and so she's very fast and quick, and I'm very methodical, and so it kind of drives her crazy. But I take that approach probably to the extreme when it comes to like, when I'm working on Invisalign workups or, bending wires or whatever. I have the unfortunate ability to see everything that's wrong, and then the also unfortunate like tick that I can't like let it go. And so some of the stuff that I find myself doing is really not, it's more academic than really productive.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to kind of, I've always had to sort of rein myself in on that side of it. But I do think it helps me, and it has helped me, because in the end, really, it's about the outcomes that you are able to achieve, and the success rates that you're able to
Right.
achieve. And so I think that just side of my, that sort of, I guess you call it an anal side of my personality.
Let's call it
has,
obsessive excellence.
yeah,
Yeah,
well, I don't
it's
know about
better.
excellent,
Yeah.
but I've also had to learn how to let some of that go, and not
Yeah.
the part you have to. There's a line where it really doesn't matter, and so I have, especially when things start stacking up and you're busy, you can't just fiddle around with things,
But you are an orthodontist, and in the world of orthodontia, it's, I mean, you're focusing on things that are millimeters, right?
Yeah.
And so, what are those things that you, as the leader, as the owner, as the boss, have said, hey, we sweat the small stuff. This is the things that we're going to do different than other practices that's going to earn the trust of the community and these parents to bring their kids to us. Like, what are those things that you actually sweat that are small?
Well, I mean, I think it starts with just, you know, the whole thing starts with your own level of personal accountability on what you're going to let pass as being acceptable. And so that kind of bleeds into everything, I think, in terms of what your team also know they think that they can do and get away with, and that you're going to approve of, because we're overseeing everything. So that, I think, it just starts out with just your commitment to what you feel like is the standard that you want to achieve, and if you exhibit that commitment, then those that you're employing, and I think in the end, if and I've found this, is if you do a good job and people are helping you and they're doing a good job, they feel better about themselves, and that's, I think, part of what keeps people around, is if people are at jobs where they feel like they're cutting corners, or they're not able to do the best that they can do,
Yeah.
then they don't want to be there.
Yeah.
And so, or if they do, then it's not going to be the culture that you want, or the group that you want to be working with. So
Yeah. We call it hiding in our office. That like over a period of time we realized that there was like certain employees that we would hire that would find a corner to hide in
mhm.
where they didn't necessarily have to meet the standard of everybody else. And then that bred a lot of resentment for the people that were kind of
Right.
carrying the weight of it. So I think we've done a good job with our firm of just making sure that everybody kind of knows what the standard is.
Oh, people
And
could hide in all kinds of corners in our office. It was bad. Remember?
oh, could, yeah.
No, I'm saying we look back and we're like, the stuff that people got away with and we allowed, and then you just realize, like, you've got to start shining a light on all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, since everybody's kind of rowing the boat at the same speed, somebody comes in that, drops the oar and a spotlight goes on them almost.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's just accountability, right? When
Mhm.
there's a lack of accountability, then people see that, oh, this one's getting away with that, so then maybe I can get away
Maybe
with
I
that, and then it starts to spread. And so,
agree.
and that's not a strength of mine, like bringing accountability, and I feel like that's, we've talked about, the manager that I brought on, and
And
some,
her name's Kelsey.
yeah,
I've met Kelsey. She's a force. She gives me Ash Blackburn vibes, like,
yeah.
right away.
Well, I think we've compared, how they've benefited our respective businesses, with their
Right.
gifts, so
Yeah, you've got to have a Kelsey. You've got to have an Ash. Could you imagine your life without Kelsey?
yeah. Well, I can, because I've been there,
Do you want to imagine your
I
life?
prefer not.
Yeah. No, of course not. And it's
She's your
been
practice manager.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, a lot of what's happened with her and in my relationship with her and over time is, it's fun, because it's just something that's kind of organically grown, and we both gotten better at what we do, and we both improved and worked hard to make things better. So it's 10 years of grinding and working hard, and trying to improve and make the business better. So it's been a fun ride. But yeah, I mean, you get someone who has that kind of a skill set, it would be really hard to, obviously I could not do even a fraction of what she does in terms of the operational side of the business,
Mhm.
because I'm still full time just in the mouths, so that's
Yeah.
kind of my expertise. And so I've had to find someone who can take over the operational side of the business. And
Which is a lot of quick decisions, being able to
well,
move on your
it's
feet.
important decisions, like who am I going to hire? What, she contributes really greatly to the just overall strategic plan and where we're going to be going in the future. So all of that stuff, um, or even just, the check-ins with the employees, touching in with all the different managers and what, say what's going on with sales, how's things going on in our marketing department, and just overseeing all of those operations, which I just simply, if I try to do all of the clinical work and that work,
Yeah. You're not doing them
I
both.
just don't have the time to do it.
Right.
I've had the benefit, the vantage point of watching your entire career. You went to school, UCLA.
Yes.
Did you get a scholarship?
No.
I thought you got paid. Didn't you get paid while you were going
Well,
to
so I
ortho?
mean, dental school doesn't really offer scholarships, unfortunately, but there are a few, at least in those years, there were a few orthodontic programs that would pay you as a medical resident. So you'd get just a medical resident salary. So it was under the umbrella of the hospital.
Mm.
And so those were pretty coveted positions because they give you health insurance, they give you meal cards and all that stuff. And so because I was at UCLA, I had the opportunity to get to know some of the faculty, and I did well enough that they liked me. And so I got in there.
And how many, just so people understand, because I didn't know how insanely competitive orthodontia was, like how many people get accepted into UCLA? Is it 50? Is it 20? Is it?
So the dental school has like 100 per year, I think, or at least when I was there, and it could be different. But the orthodontic program that I applied to only had 3 acceptances per year, and that's
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
and
So
people are
yeah,
applying
right. You have no idea.
people are applying, there's people applying from all over the country to that program. Was very hard because it paid, it was on the West Coast, it was nice weather, it had a prestigious name, and so you're competing against all the Harvards and all the, Ivy League dental schools and
Right.
everything else. And so to get in there was a big win for me because I thought that was kind of outside of what I could achieve. But
So you said achieve, and in our early podcast, do you remember, Ash, when this is a clip that Oscar cut out, was I marry into this family, and there's no reason to hide it. You're my brother-in-law. That doesn't make you any less impressive, just so just so our listeners
that's the
know.
only way you could get me on here.
But I mentioned Mark and the other brother-in-laws, but Mark especially as being one of the overachieving brother-in-laws in this family that I marry into. And I start hearing about UCLA and scholarships, and then he's white and 6 feet, but he can do a 360 dunk. And I'm like, so he's not just a nerd, but he's athletic and good at basketball. And so I immediately am like, I gotta up my game, like big time. Like all I had on him was like, if we went to Cabo, Mark joined us on our honeymoon, like we had a delayed honeymoon in Cabo. Yeah, we'll get to that, but we did a delayed honeymoon and we couldn't afford it, so they took us down to like some timeshare, and the only thing I had on him was like cliff jumping and swimming in the ocean because I grew up in San Diego, and I was just like,
Now look at you, we got everything on me.
right? I was like, so I owe Mark like at least 6% of my success to Mark.
I hear his basketball games just still kind of lacking.
It's not great.
So.
No, it's not great.
Either.
No, but Mark was, he, you've always done well in school, right?
Yeah.
And so, do you feel like because you're, I know you as extremely competitive. People aren't going to see that. I've played basketball with him for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
You're extremely competitive. What do you do, or how do you make sure that edge that you maintain doesn't slide into ego and start to be like, oh, I am this successful businessman. I am this awesome father. I am like, how do you protect yourself from slipping into ego and staying humble?
Well, I mean, I don't know. That's a tough question. I mean, I guess there's plenty of people around me that I admire and look up to, and that are honest with me. So I guess part of it is when you surround yourself with people who are just pretty amazing, it's hard to be too egotistical because you're like, man, I just want to be more like them, And then if you do start to slip down that road, you got your wife or your office manager, your partner, or somebody who can
Put
be
you in
like,
check.
yeah, put you in check. But I do think, I mean, from the competitive side of things, I think that's obviously been an advantage. But it's also, there are some things that I look back and feel like, maybe I wasn't the best, like,
What do you mean?
well, like, so we talked about Zach, he's like my older brother. He's like the greatest older brother because he's a cheerleader. He's always been like, Mark's awesome. Mark's so smart. Mark's so good at, and
He got a lot of Susie in him, like my wife.
yeah. And
They're
he's never taken that and been like, oh, I need to be better than him, which a lot of brothers, I think,
Yeah.
can be. And, I look at my relationship with my younger brother, we have a great relationship now, but when I was young, I was pretty ruthless. Like,
I'm going to do it better. Anything you can do, I can do better.
You'll never beat me in basketball. You'll never,
like ever.
Yeah, right.
There was no like, I'll give him one.
Yeah,
wasn't
right.
gonna do
It was
that.
just pretty.
Ego was not in check then.
So, I mean, I think, being cutthroat, as I've gotten older, I think you've got to be careful about that because, it can be damaging to relationships and really how important is some of this stuff. And
there'd be mornings where I'm like, I'm not guarding Mark because I'm going to see him at Sunday dinner and I want to have good feelings.
Right.
I don't want to I don't want him to block me anymore. I'm going to lose my temper.
Or I'm going to lose my temper at basketball. Like a bunch of old guys running around the gym in the morning.
Hey, that was serious ball. There were some of us that were going to go pro in that league,
Is that really worth it?
I read on your About Me page on your website that it was a neighbor that influenced you to be an orthodontist or that contributed to that. And I know it's really important for Joe to kind of mentor and give back to younger generation, especially young men. How important was it to have a mentor, especially then that like you can look back and see how much it shaped your future?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I never had like it was important. I mean, I had examples, but I didn't have like a real close personal relationship. I just looked at him and said, well, that's a nice lifestyle. That's pretty cool, but
I like it.
I didn't have a really close one-on-one relationship with him.
He was right about the lifestyle.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, yeah, it's been, I mean, I've been blessed to have a good lifestyle. Obviously, I'm here on a Tuesday morning, so it's pretty good. When I should be in the clinic working. But I mean, I think mentorship is huge. Like I had a lot of people when I was young who were, older and great mentors. A lot of them came through my church. And the youth activities that we did, and just men who I admired and who encouraged me and challenged me to do better. And so not necessarily in the orthodontic realm, but I think just in the human realm.
Life realm.
Well, speaking of mentors, so Ash, we were at Lake Powell together. This is back when we pretended we wanted to, drive houseboats and all that.
Yeah.
We realized, it's too much, too many engines.
Proud if I'm.
No, too much technical skill involved. But I'll never forget. So Mark and I are at Lake Powell having a great time, and he gets a phone call. He's stressing about something, and so I ask him, and he starts telling me about this mentor, right?
Yeah. So
this lady, this consultant, that she goes around kind of like you and just would drop into a law firm like you would, or drops into an orthodontist office and basically does a full-blown, like, what's that cooking show where they come in and just change the menu and everything, right? Like they fix it.
Restaurant rehab or something.
Right, something like that, right?
orthodontist, right?
Well, so this lady gets a name, but she's not cheap. What's she cost?
Well,
I want to say you said $100,000.
Well, it was
This is
like
my dream
for her to
Yeah.
come for a day in your office, it's like 10,000, and she'd come for weeks. Like I'm going to come for a week
So
this month, and then I'm going to come for a week this month, and she didn't really give you a choice.
oh yeah,
I'm coming. So I've got these days.
yeah,
and I'm coming, and you're
yeah.
like, well,
Here's the
we
menu.
get to talk about this, or
No,
and here's how much it costs, and she
guess
was
it's safe with
self-made.
now.
Like she was. I don't know if she had a degree. She just worked at an
She wasn't
orthodontic
even-
office.
yeah, and she wasn't even necessarily like super polished. Like I thought
She was mean.
She was mean.
Yeah, she was mean, but she was awesome. Like she's very loving, but she just was very opinionated.
Yeah, so
harsh,
so
yeah.
Mark's in the middle of like, oh my
We have one
gosh.
day to like shape things up. So I mean,
Yeah.
she's got to do it.
No, I mean the story behind her is I mean, when I bought a business from a practicing orthodontist. He left very quickly, and so when I got there, we grew quite a bit, and then I didn't really know how to handle that kind of volume by myself, and I didn't hire anyone else. And so and then he left, and
Yeah, pre-Kelsey.
Pre-Kelsey,
his
okay.
reputation kind of was not there anymore. And so I started to feel that, the squeeze on, business was kind of going slower. And then not very long after that, we had the crash in Las Vegas with the real estate,
This is 2008.
yeah, so 2008. So, I was sort of struggling. And I think the only thing that kept me alive is, orthodontics is pretty high barrier to entry, and so, there's just not that many. And so I was staying afloat, just by being an orthodontist, not so much for being like a great business
Right.
necessarily, And I kind of came to the realization as we were, shrinking, over the year, year after year, that I had to change, I had to improve. And so I'd hired, some help, but they weren't, a lot of times you hire a consultant and it's like, okay, they tell you what to do, you get all gung ho and you go back and
Rah.
and pretty soon, 2 days later, you're doing the exactly the same way as you were
Right.
doing
Right.
before.
Mm-hmm.
So I went on another continuing education event, and there are different speakers, and I went to her course, and everything that she was talking about, I'm like, yeah, I want to do that. I want to learn how to do that, and like point by point. And I decided, like, I don't care what this costs. I'm just gonna, I can try to implement all this stuff on my own over the next 30 years and maybe never get to where she already is, or I can just do what it takes and try to just get it done quickly. And so that was the decision I made. And in fact, that's the weekend we hired Kelsey. It was kind of funny.
Oh, there you
Yeah,
go.
like that same weekend we were in negotiations. She'd agreed to work with me. And then and funny thing about Kelsey, she worked for Zach like for 5 years before
Really?
before she worked with me.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But she was kind of an up and coming, she was just learning the business and stuff. But she was working for a different Hanson Orthodontics was,
Okay.
yeah, and he's a great orthodontist. But she'd agreed to work for us. And then we got back from that trip and she's like, no, I'm going to stay put. He's talked me into, he's paying me more. I'm like, okay, fine. But then like 2 weeks later, she's called, said, okay, I'm coming over. And so it was kind of right around that same time. But right after her talk, she was in the vendor booth, at the big exhibit. And I went over to her and I said, hey, I'm interested in working with you. She's like, what software do you use? And so I'm like,
Comes
Right to it.
I'm like, well,
Sounds like it should be.
I was using kind of an antiquated software,
Yep.
because it's just hard to change. It's a lot of work to change.
It is, yeah.
And she's like, okay, I can't work with you. And I'm like, well, so she grabs me almost by the hand. Like she's like a little older.
She's older.
She's probably in her 60s at that point or something. And so I felt like a little child. She walked me over to this other software booth and she's like, this is Dr. Truman. He's going to buy your software. And I'm like, well, that's like 50 grand. And I don't know what it is about her. She's just like,
she's who you needed, because
Yeah.
I remember she broke you down. Like
Yeah.
she would interview all the staff just like you'd see on these movies or TV shows. And she'd be talking to one and she'd be like, well, what do you need? And they'd be like, well, I have an apartment and I need a car and I'm taking the bus. And then she'd be like, Mark, you need to give her a raise so she can get to work. And Mark's like, well, okay. Or she'd be like, the biggest one, and this is really what I want you to talk about is you have these explosive moments in your business and your life. And I personally, you can tell me if you saw it the same way, I personally saw it as a massive leap forward for your business, because she said, Mark, you're in this beautiful commercial real estate. It's Sir William's Court. It's where they do weddings. It's got the white marble staircase, and you know it right there on Sahara and right in
like
Wallapai,
Charleston
and Rampart.
Yeah.
But beautiful space. But it's all tucked back, and there's no street signage. There's no visibility. You get this little tiny placard with 18 other. And she said, you need to move. It's hard for people to get in there. It's hard for people to see it. And he'd put all this money into it, like hundreds of thousands, right, that he wasn't going to get back. And I saw the wrestle. I saw you just fighting, right? When it's like, well, the software is expensive. Like, well, it's expensive to move, and I don't know.
You're expensive.
You're expensive. This conversation's costing me $10,000, right?
And half my team's gonna quit after you come.
And
Yeah.
and then before you know it, he's posting on his Instagram the crane putting up not Truman, but Truman Orthodontic, the biggest letters, like Petco size, right next to Petco.
Yeah.
And it's on the corner of Wallapai and Sahara. There's a Sprouts there, and he's by the schools where he's a lot of his clientele is coming from. And instantly it's like, oh, there's Truman. And then you see the bumper sticker and they're putting it together, and you just went from being known to really being known and being out there. And then you open up that Northwest office, right?
Right.
But Ash wants to ask you about this bumper sticker thing.
Bumper sticker. I get so many people telling me that.
Yeah, well, we have to hear.
Yeah.
I hate a sticker on a car.
I
Hate it.
hate it more than you.
And so, you know, if I see a sticker on a car, it's my kid goes to X school and is in the honor roll, and then we love Truman Orthodontics.
Yeah.
How did you get so many people to mark their vehicles with
Just,
your?
I mean, bribery.
Cash on the
Classic.
table.
Yeah. I mean,
Tried and true.
yeah. No, I mean, really, I think most of the parents that have those on their car probably are like, am I really putting this on my car? But we kind of get the kids pumped up when they come in because we tell them, if you put this on your car, you could win a trip to Disneyland.
Oh, they're so mad. You have a bunch of parents that hate
And the
you.
parents are like,
Yeah.
the kids are like, oh, we got to put it on the car, you know? And so, yeah, you go through the kids to get the parents to do things you want them to do. But no, it's been good. I mean, they get like every month we do a little drawing and there's like a smaller gift, you know? It's like
Nice.
and then there's a grand prize at the end of the year. It's kind of fun. We do a Disneyland giveaway. And so usually the kids don't know about it. And then we call the parents and arrange it. So when they come in, we have like Mickey Mouse ears and big gift basket and just tell them they're going to Disneyland. And so they get really excited. So that's been kind of a fun thing for us.
So you guys were ahead of the game in terms of engagement, because didn't you have to like take pictures of it and post it, and then people would have to like check to see if?
Yeah, so that's what happens is if we see those bumper stickers around town, like any of the team will take a picture of it and then we just post it every month. And
Who's the mastermind behind doing that?
Well,
Who gets the
I mean,
credit?
who gets the credit? Well, honestly, it's another orthodontist in like California somewhere. So my sister-in-law saw it, and they're like, "You should do this." And so I kind of thought it was hokey, but I didn't think it would work.
You had no idea.
Which is it's kind of funny with marketing is you find that a lot of things that you think should work great don't work, and then other
ones
things
you're
that
worried
like,
about.
this isn't going to work, and it works.
Podcasting.
You know,
Podcast.
yeah. So
Right.
something like
I didn't know we'd blow up so fast.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that, and now every time I see people and I meet them, they're like, "Oh, are you the guy with the bumper sticker?" And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of funny how it's spread, but
Yeah.
Well, even more than the bumper sticker, how did you get involved with the Golden Knights and their mascot?
oh
You
yeah,
put braces on Chance.
yeah.
The Golden Knights mascot. That's not easy.
Well, I mean, you just pay them enough money, they'll let you do whatever.
I know, but his teeth were already straight, so I'm saying that's a
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, so the way that happened was, so mascots. I learned a little bit more about mascots dealing with Chance.
Oh, and our listeners want to know.
Yeah.
They're listening right now to hear about mascots.
Well,
Mark
I mean,
talks about
it's a whole thing. Like if you're a career, like a career mascot, you go to conventions, you're like, all the other mascots.
It's a thing.
And it's a thing, and you take it seriously. It's a job. It's a profession, so you take it seriously. And so this mascot was due for like a update, and he had a gap between his teeth. Chance did,
Sure.
Yeah.
And so the new Chance, the teeth were coming together. And so the Chance under the mask was like, hey, whoa, we need a story behind this, because you can't just change the head and not like have a reason for it, like have something behind it. And so I think he talked to the marketing department, or the whoever the decision makers are over the Chance, face. And so the marketing people got the idea, well, they're always looking for sponsors and stuff, or partners. And so it just so happened that one of the guys in that department, I had done his teeth when he was a kid. So he reached out to me and said, hey, this is an idea we have, would you be willing to do this? And you could be a sponsor. And, of course, I wrote my brother in on it. And so it was really fun. We had like the whole storyline was played at an actual opening night at Vegas over the Jumbotron. There was like a 30-second clip of him getting braces, and then like another 30-second clip later in the game of him getting them off, and then we met him at the top up there.
You and your brother's act.
Stage.
And you got the
it was pretty
jerseys.
fun.
You got to crank the wheel.
Yeah.
All that.
You think it's a small thing, but before I ever put together that Truman Orthodontics was your brother-in-law, I live by Truman Orthodontics over on Sahara, and it is a huge sign. It's like, oh, okay, wow, that's a place. And then I see all these bumper stickers all around, and then I see you're connected with the Golden Knights, and for me, it was like, man, this is a this company's doing well.
No, I meant the Dave and Buster's thing. Like, if you don't want to pay for Dave and Buster's, you got kids, then you're listening. Just go into his office and start shooting hoops and get a free Slurpee. This
No,
whole
I
office
mean,
is like,
I mean, some of that is just street cred, like you get a big sign. I didn't believe it because, you just think you do a good job and people are going to come.
yeah,
And like bumper stick, to me, it seemed all hokey, like a big sign. Like when they put that sign up, I'm like, I was pretty like,
Were you a little embarrassed?
yeah, I'm like, okay. Like that's
Because you're shouting. Well,
yeah,
that's
well,
not your
it's your own name and you're putting it on a building and it's huge. And so I was a little embarrassed about it. And, it took me a while to kind of just like, like roll with it, but you got, so all that stuff, you don't think it matters, but it matters. Like, we get people walking in off the street, which we never had before. And so, I've had to learn a lot about just what it means to
Marketing, yeah.
market, and then just roll with it. But, we've done it. Yeah. I think we have a fun office, and we have a good vibe in there and a good culture that we've kind of worked to build. So
Even the color. Where did the color come from? It's such
that's Zach's
big-
office. So
That's our designer. That's Angie.
Oh, gotcha.
well, actually,
That's
so
Goobler
the one that I had originally had was the logo was the same, but Zach had the color.
Okay.
And so when we decided to do the marketing team up on marketing, we decided to use my logo, which was Angie, and then his colors, which was the teal and the blue. And yeah.
So back to the braces, because I want our listeners to be able to come away with some like knowledge about the industry, where it's going, where it's headed, your personal opinion on, things like Invisalign, when to start braces. Yeah, I'm sure we have some, under 12 listeners, but for the most part, people listening are going to be adults, right? And
Yeah. Well, I mean, moms are the one.
Okay, so speak to the moms mostly as far as what sets you apart. Is there very much difference, right? Disparity in your office to the next, and when do you start? All those things that you kind of have to hit with parents.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think in terms of like what makes orthodontics different, I think there's different levels, obviously, of skill in terms of the orthodontist that's working on the child and the decisions that they're making. But I think most orthodontists are pretty competent and pretty.
Well, and I asked you because I've tried to tease this out. You did say that like maybe a worse orthodontist, it might just take longer and they can sort of hide that easily. It's like, oh well, yeah, your teeth are bad, and da, da, da. And in reality, a better orthodontist might have been like, okay, well, here's the adjustments we're going to make, and you'd be out of those braces sooner.
Yeah, I think there's efficiency side of it.
What else?
But it's more than
what else?
It's more than just the one like the orthodontist is one part of it, but the rest of the team is a huge part of it.
So speak to that.
Well, are they going to pick up the phone when you call? Like, are they going to answer? Are they going to be pleasant? Are they going to accommodate your schedule? Are they going to be able to get you in at the hours that you want? Are they going to be able to deal with concerns that you have? Are the technicians skilled? Because those are the people that are going to be putting the wires in and out. Like, how much training do they have? How skilled are they? How dedicated, committed? How personable are they?
But that's we've talked about how hard it is to talk. We've got these amazing paralegals, case managers, the staff. That's a hard thing to let the public know, right? You're the face of it. You're the doctor. But the reality is you're not seeing them very much, right? You see in the beginning, maybe a little, and at the end.
Well, you see them, throughout treatment, but mostly it's in a supervisory role,
And that's what we're doing, right?
Yeah, you're making sure that, what the assistant had done is up to standards and stuff. But, that experience is a big part of it, and so to be very professional in terms of your billings and your billing, your sales approach and your, all of those things have to be excellent if you're going to call yourself excellent, and so it's the orthodontist is one part of it, but that's just one part of it.
Right. You can't necessarily market what the team's doing, but as soon as that person comes in, they have that experience, then they're telling their friend, oh, you should go to this orthodontist.
Right.
And I think as a mom, and especially I think in anything having to do with teeth, right? You have to come back for it to work, right? You have to be consistent.
There's even an accountability side to that, because if a lot of practices, if you don't make your appointment, then they don't call you, and so you're just like floating out there with braces on, and nobody calls you and follows up.
You're making sure they're getting through.
Yeah, or if the kid's not wearing the rubber bands, we're having conversations, and we're we have a whole protocol where we're like, okay, you're signing here, and if you don't get this done, then we're going to take them off, or we're going to start charging you because. But there's
We're going to take you out of the drawing. You
there,
don't get to win the prize.
well, I mean, there's just, I mean,
Punitive.
it's hard to do that to people who are your customers, but if you don't, then you're not doing anybody any favors.
And they want it,
you know?
and they need it.
And they need it, and,
Yeah.
and it motivates the child through the parents, you know, because
Yeah.
it can hit them in the pocketbook, you know. So there's all these different levels of checkpoints where you're making, because, you know, it's easier to do when you're just, you know, an office of like 4 or 5 people, and you can keep track of people, but when you have a lot and you're doing it you know, like a higher volume, the systems have to be pretty tight
Yep.
in order to not let things slip through the cracks. And
Yeah, you've heard the whole 10,000 hours thing. I saw a quote recently where it's like, you know, running a successful business is really 10,000 iterations, right?
Mhm.
And you're like, okay, we tried that software. Okay, now I need to try this software. I need to be willing to get the mentor to come and help me realize that I need to change locations, right? I need to not, you know, have my nephew do the logo. I need to pay to have a professional do the logo, right?
Right.
You feel like your success has been that, just iteration after iteration?
Well, you know, orthodontics is very interesting because, you know, it's harder to learn than a lot of things. You know, if you're a dentist, you just do a filling, and that's like an hour, and then you get into another filling, and it's like an hour. But to do an orthodontic case takes 2, you know, sometimes 3 years.
Mm.
And so to, you know, you do a certain adjustment, and you're like, okay, like I want to know how that worked out, but you got to wait 6 weeks, you know, until you see him
Yeah.
again, you know. And so, you know, for you to get really, really to the point where you've seen everything, it takes a lot of years, because not only are you're having to do lots of different types of treatment, different cases that present themselves, but then you're having to be able to do a lot of those specific types and follow them over time. And so, you know, like, experience is harder to gain. It takes longer time because, you know, just the nature of what you're doing. So, yeah, I mean, I think, you know, having gone through 20 some years of doing it, and then, you know, I'm kind of a systems guy, so I have a lot of things that I've developed over time that are, I think, you know, it's funny, you know, I have different systems that I've developed that I think are amazing, and I think that they've been key to being able to grow the way that I have. But I'll go to other orthodontists and try to tell them how amazing it's been, and we're all stuck in our own little
Yeah.
thing, and most of them just don't care.
So something you were stuck in, I want to call you out a little bit. I remember back in the day, way back in the day, when Invisalign just started coming online, and I was like, what do you think? And you were pretty like, this is garbage. This is just like, you know, corporate trying to monopolize, take over what we do. And you were just, you know, you had all those initial perceptions about it. Some of them may be true, a lot of them maybe not, right?
Yeah.
And then, you know, fast forward, you've got Truman Orthodontics, and then you're even sporting the little Invisalign
Well-
logo underneath it, and you realize that at a certain point, I can't fight this machine that is Invisalign, and I've got to work with it. Do you feel like you had to sacrifice anything, like in kind of going, this is the enemy, and this is the way it is, and saying, no, there's a
Yeah.
future here, and
Well, I mean, you know, I kind of grew up with Invisalign because when I started my residency program, it was brand new. And what the word on the street was back then is, we're not going to need orthodontists anymore. You know,
Yeah.
this is the new thing. And you went into this career, and
It's gonna put you out of business.
and you'll never have a job. You know, so I was,
So you were in fear mindset.
yeah, you were. We had to get you out of fear mindset.
yeah, I was like, this is the worst, you
Yeah.
know. But, you know, then the earlier years of it, the Invisalign, because I always did it, you know, more reluctantly.
Reluctantly.
Well, because the way that they did it was all technician driven, so you couldn't really do the movements yourself. So it was all trying to articulate what you wanted to do, like typing it to a tech in, you know, I think they're down in Costa Rica or something. So
Yeah.
do they understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And then you wait for it to come back, and you're like, I don't like that. And you know, it was just really hard to get to the point you wanted it. But now that they have, you know, they've been a really great company in the sense that they've really listened to what orthodontists want,
Feedback, yeah.
and made the software. That's the key to their entire business. Is, you know, they're a manufacturing company, but really primarily it's the software that's, you know, so nice, because you can do anything you want on it, you know. And then you have to really kind of, as you go through it, ask yourself, is that really realistic, you know, because it'll do anything you want, but will it really follow in the mouth? And so you have to kind of get a sense for that. But Invisalign has it's my best friend and my worst nightmare, because if people do what they're supposed to do and wear them perfectly, it's probably the most efficient thing you can do in terms of orthodontics, because it's all digitally controlled step by step, one tiny little movement at a time. But if you're not good at it, then you lose track, and then all of a sudden you're at the end and it's not where you want it, and then you got to order more, and then you just keep ordering more, and
It's a
pretty
lot more
soon.
work than I thought it was too. One of the attorneys at our office just got Invisalign,
Yeah.
and he's like telling me what the hygiene process
Yeah.
is. And
I mean, so you have to have committed patients for it, so that it's identifying the people that are going to be committed, and if it's not working, learning how to kind of get out of it and get into something more predictable like braces at the right time. But I mean, I love it when it works. It's amazing. So it's one of those things like, I can't believe how awesome Invisalign is. And then the next person you're looking at, you're like, I hate Invisalign.
Can you give us a condensed, this is who's an ideal candidate for Invisalign?
Well, I think I see it more in adults just because of the maturity, but then you have some kids that are, so a good candidate, like as a youth for Invisalign, would be someone who would, first they have to have all their teeth. So kids are changing teeth. So you're not really doing it on people who are still losing their baby teeth. But so once all the teeth are in and they have a decent bite, like I don't love it for huge overbites, or, some of those movements are a little more tricky, but, so decently positioned bite, but just crowded teeth. And then, just on the personal responsibility level, are your grades good? Do you keep your room clean? You brush your teeth?
Are you type A?
Yeah, like you follow the rules, like those kinds of people, and parents are pretty good. They're like, you're not going to do that. Or
Yeah,
say, yeah,
we know our kids.
yeah, and they'll be like, oh yeah, they can do it. They'll be good. And so it works great, really great for kids, because kids' teeth move easier than
That's profiling,
adults.
man. That's not cool. You're profiling.
Yeah, it's true. You're sometimes surprised too. Like sometimes I'll go into it and they're like, I'm not doing it unless it's Invisalign. And I'm like, you're going to fail.
You're gonna
and
fall on your
they
face.
come through and they're like rock stars, so
That's cool.
you don't always know, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of what you do is cosmetic, right? And I wanted to ask, because I do think that it's different than other cosmetic procedures. It's a little bit of a silly question, but what's the significance to you of a beautiful smile?
Well, I mean, being in the business, you can't overstate how much it matters to some of these kids, because,
Really?
I mean, there's people that come in and really what I do probably doesn't affect their life much, because there's a little crooked tooth.
It's millimeters.
Yeah, it's like no one, in real life, maybe nobody's going to notice, on the cosmetic side. There are other things that we fix in the bite side that people will never notice, that I think are awesome, because it prevents their teeth from wearing out or whatever. But there are people that they just want this little tooth fixed, or, I have a couple crowded teeth that they notice, but maybe that no one else notices. But then you have the kids who are, I mean, there is a deformity there in terms of like just the way it looks is so off that they don't dare smile.
The confidence isn't there.
So they just don't smile. They feel, they just, I mean, it's a weight, because every time they want to laugh or whatever, they're covering their mouth.
Well, you can't overstate it. When you're not smiling, you're not engaging with the world. You're not inviting, right? You're closed off, and it is something that's really easy to overlook, like just how important a smile is.
And so those kinds are really fun, because you just kind of see them blossom, and the kids, they'll maybe start dressing a little different, and their hygiene just overall gets better, stuff like that. So
I even remember, I'm the youngest of 7. My parents could not afford braces for any of my snaggletooth siblings. They all needed them.
yeah.
And I was the only one where my mom just went to the orthodontist and said, hey, I should, well, yeah, help you. I had a couple of, things, and she's just like, she was just kind of determined to get me to college, get me straight teeth, like do all the stuff that she just couldn't afford. And so she went and did a Forrest Gump and was like, listen, I can't afford it, but when one of my parents dies, I'll pay you back. And he's like, did an IOU. And it was 5 years later, I think, and he forgot about it. One of these things where she paid him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I did that for you, sweet," and but I had him on my senior year for a year, and I remember, I'm like, I was supposed to do 2 years, and I couldn't. I was just like, I can't graduate with these things. I was dying, and I still have the bottom retainer on my teeth from '96, hasn't moved. I asked Mark, I'm like, should I take it off? He's like, yeah, if you want your teeth to move, and I was like, okay, that was good to know. So that's on there still. And but the confidence when I took them off, and I remember standing in front of the mirror and licking my teeth, and it was all smooth. And it was kind of like they're like, you can go now. And I'm probably there for 30 minutes just like checking myself out and smiling. But it was weird. It was this instant self-esteem that I was just like, oh, I want to have a perfect smile, and I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
I would say
So
perfect.
no,
but-
it's fun to see those changes in people, and some of them are pretty dramatic. So
Well, it's something you
fun
can't
to-
hide, right? So, I mean, this is what you're leading with all the time. And
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah, the idea that anybody's kind of covering their mouth all the time.
And I look at
just
people's
might be-
mouths, not eyes, when I speak to them, like just instinctually. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's normal. I don't think it is, but like, so it
Yeah.
matters.
yeah, it does. So yeah, I mean, I'm always kind of like, I wish I could, that waitress or whatever that has like the crooked teeth. I'm like,
You're like,
can I just
I
like
could just
can we-
Invisalign on you for 2
let's
months.
fix this? Yeah, but
Yeah.
Do you notice it a lot?
yeah, I mean, I think the nature of what I do
Yeah.
notice it more probably than most. But
Very, very detailed. I want to ask you about, you've got 6 kids. You adopted your last child, Will, who's awesome. He's my Hugh boy's age, and they're best buds. I wanted to ask you though, when you adopted Will, how old was he officially?
he was, well, the actual adoption, I think he was probably a year and a half old, but we got him right when he was born.
Right when he was born.
And then we had him for 6 months, and then he went home for about a year, and then we had him maybe, so he might have been closer to 2, but we had him for the 6 months, and he went home for almost a year, and then he came back.
And I wanted to ask you, how did that adoption change the way you either see patients or
Parenting.
your kids? Like, was there anything where you?
Yes, I mean, so you have periods in your life where you have ups and downs, and so we had our youngest who had just started kindergarten, and practice was doing pretty well at that time, and so I was starting to come up for air after trying to get everything situated, and then this wasn't like something we sought out to do, but I would find myself like, hey honey, and like I was off on a Monday morning or Monday, I'm like, let's go to the movies or something, and it was a Monday, and the kids were all in school, and
Enjoying freedom.
yeah, having
That
some
you had
freedom,
before. Yeah.
Well earned.
and
Yeah.
and I loved it, but at the same time, I'm like, I had a little bit of guilt associated with that.
A
'cause
lot
I'm
of
like,
it. You had a
yeah,
lot.
I'm like,
Yeah.
why am I doing this? And so, obviously, Maria, she's like the nurturer of nurturers.
You're right. That's a
like
good
she-
title,
yeah.
Nurturer of Nurturers.
Yes. And so there was this baby that needed a home because the parents had some issues with addiction and stuff. And so they were kind of, it's through our church. They were just asking around who could help for a couple of weeks,
Could she just raise her hand?
And she's like, well, yeah, I can take a baby for a couple of weeks. That'd be awesome.
Instead of going to the movies.
Yeah, right.
Ash does this with dogs. We'll have that. We won't
Yeah,
get into that, but
right.
keep going. Yeah.
We're to dog. We've moved on to dogs.
Yeah. Now they're doing dogs.
Yeah. Like we're either getting a puppy or we're adopting again. So now we have a new puppy. No,
There-
just kidding.
But so they say, hey, can anybody take care of this kid for a couple weeks?
Yeah. So it was supposed to be a couple weeks, and I'm like, yeah, that'd be fine. We'll help out. And so a couple weeks turned into a month to a couple months to 6 months, and then at that point, you have a relationship, and he doesn't know any different, and then, they finally kind of got their act together so they could have him back. But, that some of those problems persisted, and they would kind of rely on us to help out, so I think he was pretty bonded to Maria. And so when he'd go there, he wasn't as chill as he was when he was at our house. And so he was a lot of work over there. And so they would say, hey, you want to take him for a while. And so we'd have him back for a weekend, and so that got to be difficult because when we would take him back to his family, then he would kind of be upset. And so it just started to become this untenable situation. And so we kind of let them know that we're going to kind of not take him anymore because this is not, I don't think, healthy for him, And so at that point, some things happened, and they were sort of in a little bit of a crisis, and they asked if we would take him, and we said, yeah, we'll take him if we can adopt him, but we're not going to take him and bring him back and forth and do all that stuff. And So they both signed off on it, and so that's how we got him. So
And how has that changed you? I mean, is there anything where you went into that thinking something and then you had to let that go after you adopted Will, or you realized?
well, I mean, so I kind of contrasted that with the freedom that we'd had before, just a very short taste of like this freedom,
Mm.
and maybe a little bit of like I don't know why the guilt came, um but the just doing stuff that maybe wasn't as meaningful, and then to transition into doing something that okay, this is something that's obviously a meaningful thing, and even though it's more work, more responsibility, and Will has, he's amazing and he's so funny, but he's got
He's not without his
well,
difficulties.
he's an
You guys went
any kid, he's got a lot of
Yeah.
energy, and so we've had to kind of lock in again as parents. But at this point now, we had our first child when I think I was 22,
Yeah.
and so this one comes along and I'm 39. So it's a very different like experience, and one that you are, I guess, maybe more reflective about, and just you learn, you just see it differently at a different age, at that older age, and maybe I'm not as fun and energetic and wrestling on the floor and stuff like I used to with the younger kids, but um, it's been awesome. I mean, he's been a huge blessing in our family, and to us, now all the other kids are gone, and so we still got a seventh grader, which is keeping us young and keeping us, in that parent mode for a little bit longer. So it's been a pretty awesome journey. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love that you were able to quickly realize, okay, like I can go to the movies with my wife, go play more tennis, relax, hang out, but you immediately saw that that was not fulfilling, right? And you know, I we had Oscar on this podcast, and we're talking about kids and having kids, and um, I don't think you're gonna look back ever and say, well, that was a decision I regret, and like it's been amazing to see him come into the family, and um, how it's changed the family, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all for the better. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a large part of one of your many secrets to success. But I'm grateful that you came on this show because it's easy to attract people and get people to come on that are these big personalities. They're flashy. They're a little bit look at me, right? It's the people in UCLA when you talk about these people that are trying to be celebrities and you'd work on their teeth, right?
Yeah.
Those people are easy to hear from, and you hear their stories all the time because they're telling you. Um, I've been fighting to get you on the show because you, in my opinion, represent a different kind of leadership, which is a quiet, it's a calm, it comes from a place of character, and it's irritating at times. It's annoying because it's hard to be in that shadow, but at the same time, I'm just being honest. I'm not the only one that feels this.
Sad too.
But you know, I feel like there's nothing I can teach you other than how to have more friends. That's about it. But Mark puts his family so much into priority and work, right?
Oh,
So
I don't know, Joe. You've obviously, like, it's been amazing for me to watch you and like the growth that you've had over the. I
that's
mean,
just my competitiveness. I'm like, I can't let Mark one up me.
well, I
everything.
mean, and there were years where I'm like, man, is Joe gonna like pass me up? And I'm like, I think he finally did. And I thought early on, I'm like, I'm gonna be really ticked off when Joe passes me up. But then when you did, I'm like, what, good for him.
You were able to be Zach and be a cheerleader?
He's amazing. Yeah.
No, not at
He's
all.
done awesome. And no, I mean, yeah, the friend magnet that you are, and the way that you the way you connect with my kids, like obviously
Oh, I love his kids.
he's everybody's favorite uncle.
They're my favorite kids.
And you know upon all of our kids, like not just my kids, but everybody's kids loved Uncle Joe the most. He's the most fun, and you got all the friends in the world.
And I've been able to do without alcohol so far. So cross your
That's
fingers.
pretty
Yeah,
impressive.
that's not easy to do with being a fun
Pretty
uncle without
impressive,
alcohol.
Yeah.
No, but thank you for coming on. Anybody that wants to find you or check you out, Ash still has her final question, but like, where can they find you? What's your Instagram handle? Or you're on TikTok? We haven't even talked about. Let's real quick. You've gone viral on a couple of videos that I've been incredibly jealous about. Like, tell us just a couple.
Well, I mean, I guess we somehow have a TikTok person who just does all that stuff. That
She's
just,
amazing.
I mean, she just is that age, and she's just.
But you've
on
hit on
it,
a couple. Which ones have you hit on?
Probably the biggest one was when I showed up to work and nobody was there, and I didn't even realize it was April Fool's, and so they'd planted cameras all over the office, and I'm walking around and just like, what's going on? And I'm looking at my watch, and anyway, they were all hiding in the call center, and they kind of,
That
You
is
were,
so
but you were
good.
genuinely like,
yeah, I'm like, what's going on? Like, okay, why is nobody at work?
But then you did another one, like you said, it wasn't, it was all right, but it was like the Stanley Cup one. That was huge.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a few of them. We have a pumpkin contest. I mean,
Yeah, he's showing me the one. Like how many
it,
hits? How many?
that one got up to, I think, like 20 million views.
Yeah,
It was,
and it's their, and it's all of their. I mean,
but
they're
it's nothing
amazing pumpkins.
orthodontics. So
Right.
like it's not like they're all being watched in Las Vegas. But we've had a few. Like they like to prank me. Those have gone pretty viral. We have our morning huddle, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden they say the floor is lava, and everybody jumps on a chair, and then I'm like, is there a terrorist? What's happening? Like what's happening in here? And so they get those reactions from me, and those seem to go viral. But anyway, yeah,
Fun
so
to pump
just
because
yeah,
the
I guess.
Yeah, the one I couldn't stomach was because if anyone knows me, they know that I detest mayonnaise. And he went in. What did you do with the yogurt?
Oh, yeah,
What did
yeah,
you do?
that's
Something
right, yeah.
nasty.
Yeah, I think that we just substituted like the yogurt with mayonnaise or something.
So he looks like he's eating mayonnaise out of us, just like
yeah,
big,
they put
huge.
yogurt in there,
And he's just like, "What's up, guys?" And they're all just like gagging, and it's so bad.
It's funny.
But your office has fun. If you walk in there, anybody that goes to Mark's office, you're immediately going to feel, okay, this thing is being led. There's leadership at the top to bottom. Everybody's happy. Everybody's engaged. I've been there. My friends have all been there. Tons of our law firm clients go there.
Joe's a good referral for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, if you like and subscribe, you'll get $1,000 off your next set of braces. Thank you, Mark Truman. Thank you, Dr. Mark Truman. So, no, but where else can they find you? What is your?
Well, I mean,
channel?
probably just the website is the easiest way, trumanorthodontics.com, and I think that's what it is. I should know that. But if you just Google Truman Orthodontics, you'll find us.
And you've got 3 offices, Northwest. You're covered in Summerlin, Henderson, and how many employees do you have?
I think we're about 64 now.
64. Wow. Well, congratulations, seriously, on all the success. It's been amazing to watch you
guys.
To watch you break through some of those, mindsets where it's like, can I do this? I remember in the very beginning when you were with that other partner and he thought he was so charismatic and so good with the kids in the chair and the parents, and you would come to me and you're like, I can't be this guy. Like, this guy is amazing. Everybody loves him. And I'm just like, listen.
He was like you as an orthodontist.
I was like, listen, just keep leading with all of the the character stuff. But no, it worked out for you because you just kept on fine tuning, and leading with trust. And I think that's what sets you apart is the trust. Honestly, I think your staff trusts you. I think people trust you because high character person. So we need more of you. It's not sexy. It's not flashy. I kind of think of it as like when John Stockton from the Utah Jazz retired. No, seriously, I remember reading an article and he set the record for most assists and most steals all time when he retired. And it barely made the headlines. And I read this little article where at the end of it, the guy's like, John Stockton, here he is setting 2 of the main records in the NBA. And they're like, no one's talking about it. He's like, not sexy. This is Mark. Mark's John Stockton. He's not sexy. He's not flashy, but
understated.
But it's like, but at the end of his life, he's gonna be like,
hey,
scoreboard.
I'll take any comparison to John Stockton.
Hey, you get a point
way you want to compare.
You get a point at the scoreboard.
Take it, yeah.
So, but congratulations, and Ash gets to ask you our final question.
So we're attorneys on accident because we kind of feel like we're at this place in our lives on accident, now podcasting, doing different stuff. So are you orthodontist extraordinaire by accident?
Well, I mean, I think any journey you take is, I think the embarking on the journey and where you think it's going to take you are very rarely the same, So when I set out to become an orthodontist, did I ever envision it turning into something like this? No. I mean, my initial vision, I think, was like, well, have a little corner office and have, maybe 3 or 4 assistants, and
Right.
I'll just live my life.
That's
and,
humble.
Yeah, this will be just the way it is.
Dare
Yeah.
to dream a little bit.
Well manicured rock. Just live under that little rock.
Yeah, right. So, I guess in that way, yeah, it's been. I mean, and really a lot of it too is you don't realize the relationships you're going to make in a journey like this. In terms of like I have families that I've done 7 or 8 of their kids, over years, so I'm seeing them like every 6 weeks for years.
I can't go out without seeing somebody.
So Joe has the close friends, and I have all my work friends
have a
because
lot
I
of them.
I know I know I know so many people.
You can't go to Red Rock movies.
Well, just because
them.
you spend years and years
Yeah.
seeing people regularly, and so that's kind of a lot of what I do socially. It's just at work, I get to know a lot of people and awesome families. And when they finish their last kid, it's always kind of like, you're leaving me,
Aw.
and also, you have employees that have been with you 15 years or, that you've seen them kind of just blossom and grow and do amazing things for
That's
you.
rewarding.
And then just the just to say, okay, we have worked on this together for so long and
Grown together.
and seen it, grow. And so that's been super rewarding. But so, yeah, I mean, I don't think I ever envisioned what it is now, but I feel very blessed that it came around.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks,
thank you,
Mark.
guys.
You're awesome.
You too.